Before Cadfael, there was Brother William of Baskerville. This time we're taking a look at a real gem, an 80s movie that takes place in the cloisters of the church during the 14th century. That's right, The Name of the Rose from 1986, starring Sean Connery, F. Murray Abraham, and Christian Slater. Our story goes like this. Our heroes, William of Baskerville and his young ward Adso, have just arrived at an abbey for a big, important religious conference. They're part of a delegation wrestling with a thorny religious question. Did Christ own the clothes that he wore? Did he carry a purse? No, not like Twitter would say he carried a purse. What I mean is, did Christ have worldly possessions, and did he use money? Because that would be a very weighty issue for medieval religious dudes. If those in the church should strive to emulate Christ, does that mean that they should be poor and give up their money, property, possessions, and comforts? Or should they just cash in? This is the matter before the conference to resolve this philosophical question and determine which way the church as a whole should go. So that's why everybody's gathered there. However, all is not well at this abbey. There have been mysterious deaths going on which may indicate the work of the devil, a supernatural force poisoning the sanctity of the order. Brother Connery doesn't think so. See, he's sort of like a medieval Sherlock Holmes using his intellect to solve riddles and problems. Being a scholar and a logician, he sees a human agency at work. But why does someone want to kill off these monks? Over the course of the movie, Brother Connery and Adso find mysterious clues and try to determine the motive behind the murders despite the stonewalling of the monks in charge. At one point, Adso encounters a sexy chick, or at least as sexy as a chick could be, living in medieval squalor. I think she seriously needs a bath, but I'm sure she'd clean up nice. She seems pretty free and easy with her favors, though. Still, our hero is young and enjoys said favors. Can't blame him. Anyway, as nobody expected, the Inquisition turns up in the form of F. Murray Abraham. Now, he and Brother Connery have tangled before, and this ties in with a secret Brother Connery is harboring. Of course, some monks and the sexy chick are accused of witchcraft and heresy, and they're to be burned at the stake. Can our heroes solve the crimes and save the chick? Who's the culprit, and what's behind it all? In our cast, we have Sean Connery, of course, as Brother William of Baskerville. His career was kind of in the crapper at this point, and The Name of the Rose was the beginning of a well-deserved comeback for him. He actively lobbied for the role, even overcoming the director's hesitancy to cast him, said director being wholeheartedly converted to Team Connery after hearing Connery read for the part. Christian Slater plays Adso. He's alright here, a bit inexperienced, but he carries his part well enough. He later said he found a real mentor in Connery. Drax is here as the head of the abbots of the monastery. Michael Lonsdale is very good in this. F. Murray Abraham plays the batty Bernardo with zeal. His character was based on a real guy who worked for the Inquisition over 15 years. He sentenced around 900 people and killed off about 40 of them. Ugh. And in another makeup-heavy role, we have Ron Perlman, who later starred in Beauty and the Beast and Hellboy. There are other character actors who turn up that you may vaguely recognize, but most of the monks here were deliberately cast with ugly people, the director thinking that would add realism to the medieval look of the film. And it does. These monks and the church of the time seem to be brimming over with hypocrisy, which is honestly depicted. Not just in the usual pride and arrogance, but they seem to be, if not exactly on board with the Inquisition, they seem resigned to it. Yet the Inquisition tortures people to exact false confessions, kills people in terrible ways, literally going medieval on their victims. There's dishonesty and lust for power that's not especially Christ-like. You'd think the religious orders wouldn't care for any of that, but as we know, it was a real thing. There's also a hint that some of these monks get up to, shall we say, Twitter-baited activity. The Name of the Rose was a novel written by Umberto Eco, who didn't like this movie at first, but later came round and considered it a fine film, which it is. The book has more detail, of course, and the movie makes the material more accessible to audiences because movie. Everything we see has a strange reality to it, with excellent production design and cinematography. Yet the monastery is not actually real, even though it looks all the world like a real place. It was specially constructed for the movie outside of Rome. Just phenomenal work CGI could never capture. The sets are great too, really delivering that medieval look. There is some gore in this that's a little bit over the top, but The Name of the Rose accurately conveys what living in this era must have been like. Really crappy. This movie has a sort of cachet that's hard to quantify. There's just something about this one. It could be Connery, it could be the mystery, it could be the Sherlock Holmes angle, I suppose, but I don't know. There's just something about it. It's one of those movies that when you see it, you're just hooked by it and you never forget it. So I'm giving The Name of the Rose 3 3/4 paws up. You can see my review of another Connery picture, Medicine Man, here, and down there you can see more reviews of movies from the 1980s. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.